Hello everyone, my name is Jasper Veldman. Now, this paper on developing a shared supplier with endogenous spillovers is joint work with Eddie Anderson from Imperial College London, Niels Pulles from the University of Twente and Gerard Gaalman from the University of Groningen. Now, what motivates this research? Now, in many industries we see that different buyers have the same supplier, which we call the shared supplier. Now, these buyers are often competitors in their market. Now, our paper looks at supplier development, which is a range of tools and practices used by buyers to improve the supplier's product quality, lead time, or cost. Now, we saw two major supplier development investment types in practice. Specific investment occurs when a company such as Hyundai buys a CNC machine tailored to the parts that they need. They install the machine at the supplier's site and they train the supplier. Now, they do so in a way that's not really useful or beneficial for the production of those parts that are purchased by a rival buyer. So the investments are specific to the relationship. Now, an example of generic investment is when Hyundai invests into a supplier's corporate lean manufacturing program, while they know that this benefits a rival such as Honda too. But they're not too worried about such a spillover. So what do buyers really want? Do they want only those investments that help us? Or do they want to take an opposite perspective of the rising tide lifts all boats, which means that those spillovers from generic supplier development in the end helps all supply chain parties? Or should the buyers maybe even invest in a mix of both types? Now, we constructed a relatively simple mathematical model with the following elements. Now, we have two buyers and one shared supplier. Now, the buyer-supplier development investments reduce the supplier's cost of production. And supplier development incentivizes the supplier to reduce wholesale prices. And the type of investment affects the prices charged to the buyers. Now, we study different levels of competition between buyers. And we also thought it's relevant to look at investment cost, because buyers may have different investment capabilities between them, or the buyer's capabilities to invest in one type, for example, generic investment, may be lower than the capability to invest in the other type, which is specific investment. Now, we study three different cases. Now, our paper has several interesting findings. So we looked at the composition of the portfolio. Now, we find that when buyers invest in a portfolio of supplier development types, then specific supplier development is often the dominant type. But this may not always be true. When there's hardly any competition and when companies are really efficient at making generic investments, then we see that generic supplier development has a more dominant role. We also looked at differences between buyers. So what happens when one buyer is more capable of generating generic investments compared to the rival? Now, of course, the most capable buyer invests the most. But we also see that the profits of the capable buyer are smaller than the profits of the rival buyer, who is less capable. So, companies should really be aware that a less capable rival can free ride on their investment and will be even more profitable. Now, another question is, should a buyer even invest in generic supplier development? Now, our answer is quite clear. So, despite the spillovers, a buyer should always make some type of investment into generic supplier development. Now, one of the reasons is that usually both buyers invest, so they both benefit at the same time from the wholesale price reduction set by the supplier, and they both benefit in the product market, eventually. Now, finally, a question is, should a buyer even invest in specific supplier development? We see that when competition is fierce, buyers will invest rather aggressively in specific supplier development, up to a point where this will actually hurt them profit-wise. So they may be better off investing in only generic supplier development. So it turns out actually that companies should be more careful about investing in specific supplier development rather than being worried about the spillovers from generic supplier development. Now, this concludes our short video. I'd like to thank my co-author Eddie Anderson for hosting me for a few months at the University of Sydney when he was still there, because this of course allowed us to work on the paper together. Now, please reach out to me if you want to exchange ideas or collaborate.